Hello, welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and I'm going to tell you if this game's with your time and bandwidth. Today's game is Gungrave G.O.R.E, a PS2 game I hadn't thought about in almost 2 decades has gotten a sequel. What a time to be alive. Gungrave G.O.R.E is available on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. It will cost you $40 should you wish to pick it up right now, but it is of course available via Xbox Game Pass, and the game is around 7 to 9 hours long, but is designed for replays. So what exactly is Gungrave G.O.R.E? Well, it's a third-person arcade shooter that I compare more to a light gun or rail shooter rather than actual Gears or Uncharted-esque experience. You play as Grave, who looks like the bastard child of Alucard from Helsing anime and Dante from Devil May Cry. I don't go over the massive backstory from both the anime and the previous games because the game doesn't really either, but needless to say, some evil corporation is making seed serum and Grave and company don't like that. Their solution? Mass murder. The gameplay loop is very simple. You will move from zone to zone, murdering everybody in the way to unlock the next area, where you will continue to murder. Keep murdering until the game says stop, and then you go to the next level. The murdering is done via Grave's 2 guns mostly, which auto-aim and require mashing trigger to constantly fire. Keeping up damage on either enemies or the environment increases beat, a score chain that will affect your final ranking, as well as unlock some new moves. Grave also has an extremely underwhelming melee attack, as well as special attacks that are activated when he charges enough meter. These range from on-screen nukes to rage mode to buff damage and so on. While Grave has health, his primary form of defense is a shield, which will replenish outside of combat, but in combat you're required to execute stunned enemies for a shield burst. This can be done by either walking up to them or most likely using the coffin's chain to either pull enemies to you or yourself to them for an execution. Grave's mobility is pretty bad, ergo the rail shooter comparison, although we can do the aforementioned grapple to enemies or a short roll, which has no iframes, and we will get more on that later. Outside of missions, there's a fairly basic DMC style upgrade system where you can buff core attributes like damage and health, as well as learn some new special and melee attacks. And honestly, that's basically it. The story is nonsense and has some amazing early 2000s style voice acting. That is to say, it's absolutely terrible, and I kind of love it. Most you're going to be playing this to walk, shoot, kill, and you will be doing a lot of that. So what do I like about Gungrave G.O.R.E? Well, it's great stress relief, just so much blasting, explosions, and satisfying carnage. Additionally, the game actually has a lot of variety across its many levels. I found the Vietnam and the Hong Kong level to be particularly aesthetically pleasing. I was surprised by that. And lastly, I'm secretly kind of happy to see this kind of game released. It feels like a long-lost PS2 anime game that someone spruced up. If you have nostalgia for those kinds of bargain bin PS2 games, this one definitely scratched that itch. When it comes to the bad, this game gets extremely tedious after the first hour or so. As while the game does add a few new enemies, the core gameplay never really evolves. Additionally, there's just some really bad design choices here, from having to mash the trigger rather than hold it to shoot, the dodge not providing iframes, the massive stagger time when you get knocked back, Grave's poor mobility, bosses that stun lock you, and more. And lastly, I'm giving an entire point to the last portion of the train level, and it gets that because I almost gave up on the game then and there. I could honestly make my own video about how badly designed this section is, but needless to say, it took me over an hour, and changing difficulty doesn't help because you're killed by being stun locked or knocked back while on a timer. Seriously, what the hell? As you know, I rate games here on a 3-point scale. Must play, maybe consider, don't bother. This is definitely a maybe consider with a massive asterisk, as if you plan on buying this game, I absolutely do not recommend paying full price for it. $20 is the most, I'd say, and that's only if you're nostalgic for this kind of game. As a Game Pass game, Gungrave does slot in pretty nicely, as I beat it once, had a decent enough time, and will probably never play it again. Considering the archaic gameplay and the frustration that comes with it, you really need to be sure that you enjoy these kind of old school shooting anime games like Bullet Witch, etc. before giving this one a look. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you played Gungrave, did you play the originals? I did way back in the day, so it was a bit of a nostalgia trip, I'll give it that. Either way, let me know in the comments, and go out there and give this game a look.